I still remember that afternoon clearly. It was October 28th, 2025. My phone began to vibrate. On the screen appeared the name Emily Harris, my daughter-in-law. 6 years had passed since Ryan married Emily. But this was the first time she called me Mom Lauren instead of just Carol or Mrs. Smith like before. Her voice through the video call sounded strangely warm. It was full of excitement. Mom Lauren, our grandson is about to be born. We truly hope you can be here when baby Jackson comes into this world. You will be the most wonderful grandmother he could ever have. This will be the most beautiful family moment of our lives. I dropped down onto the sofa in my small house in Phoenix, Arizona. Tears rolled down my cheeks before I even realized it. I was 68 years old. I had been waiting for this moment since the day Ryan told me Emily was pregnant 8 months earlier, becoming a grandmother for the first time. That had been a dream I carried in my heart since I was young. I imagined myself holding my tiny grandson close, whispering loving words to him. I had even secretly ordered a little pajama set from Amazon a few weeks earlier. On the front it said, "World's Best Grandma." My heart pounded loudly, as if my whole life had suddenly filled with light. Right after the call, I began preparing. I rushed to the store to buy gifts: a soft teddy bear, several adorable baby bodysuits. I even bought a bracelet engraved with the name Jackson. It was a gift for Emily. My suitcase quickly filled with my best clothes. I also booked a hotel room near Denver General Hospital so I could help take care of the baby if needed. Everything happened so fast that I barely had time to breathe. In my mind, I kept dreaming about the days ahead, holding my grandson, singing him to sleep, taking family photos of 3 generations together. It was the kind of American dream many families in this country long for. That evening, Barb Wilson called me on video. She had been my closest friend for 30 years. She was also my neighbor in Scottsdale. She frowned as she looked at me through the screen. "Lauren, it sounds nice, but be careful. For 6 years, Emily has never been this close to you. Do not let happiness blind you." I laughed and waved the concern away. "Barb, do not worry. This is the moment for the whole family to come together. Ryan's first son. I cannot miss it. I will drive to Denver. I will hold my grandson tight, and everything will be fine." At that moment, I did not know that this sweet phone call was the beginning of a nightmare. But in that moment, all I felt was overwhelming joy. I was ready for the 15-hour drive from Phoenix to Denver, across the burning deserts of Arizona, across the snowy roads of Utah, and past the magnificent Rocky Mountains. I would go there, for my family, for my grandson, and for the love that a grandmother like me has always given completely to her children and grandchildren. The next morning, October 29th, 2025, I woke up very early. The sunrise had just begun to glow over the Arizona desert. I was already sitting behind the wheel of my old sport utility vehicle, with a suitcase full of gifts placed neatly on the back seat. My heart was beating fast with excitement. "I am about to meet my grandson," I whispered to myself. Then I pressed the gas pedal and drove out of Phoenix. The Interstate 70 highway stretched out before my eyes. It was the road many American families often call the road home. The first hours were beautiful. The Arizona desert spread endlessly in every direction. Golden sunlight poured over the massive red rocks. I turned on the radio. A familiar country song began to play. "Take Me Home, Country Roads." I sang along loudly. My voice was a little hoarse from lack of sleep, but my heart was full of energy. Every mile I passed brought me closer to Jackson. I imagined lifting my grandson into my arms, breathing in the soft scent of baby milk. And Ryan would smile with happiness when he saw that his mother had arrived just in time. I stopped only twice. The first time was for gas in Flagstaff. The second time was to buy hot coffee at the Utah border. My back had begun to ache from sitting so long, but I did not care. I called Ryan for the first time. Emily answered immediately. Her voice was sweet like honey. "Hi, Mom, Lauren. Drive safe. We are waiting for you every minute. Jackson is about to be born. You are the first person we want him to meet." I smiled brightly. Warmth spread through my whole body. "Do not worry, sweetheart. Mom is already on the way." I love you and Emily very much. About 2 hours later, just after I passed the first snow-covered mountains of Utah, a strange feeling suddenly appeared. In the rearview mirror, I noticed a shiny black sport utility vehicle that had been following me for more than 100 miles. It kept a careful distance. It did not pass me. And it did not fall behind. Every time I changed lanes, it changed lanes too. My heart began to beat faster. It must be a coincidence, I told myself. But my hands tightened around the steering wheel. I tried to focus on the radio. I sang louder to push away the worry. But the feeling of being watched clung to me like a ghost in the middle of the day. I quickly sent a message to Barb. I am in the middle of Utah now. Light snow is falling. It is beautiful. Only 6 hours left to Denver. Love you, Barb replied immediately. Drive carefully, Lauren. Call me when you arrive. I smiled to myself. I tried to convince myself that everything was fine. This was the United States. Everyone on the highway had somewhere to go. It had to be just a stranger traveling in the same direction. When I crossed the magnificent Rocky Mountains, the snow began to fall more heavily. Tall peaks rose into the sky beneath the fading sunset. By then I was completely exhausted. My eyes burned with fatigue. But every time I thought about the tiny face of Jackson's strength returned to me. Only a few more hours, I told myself. I will hold my grandson, and I will tell him how far his grandmother drove just to meet him. It was the longest journey I had ever experienced. 15 hours without sleep, filled with hope, and with a small thread of worry hidden inside. I did not know that the black sport utility vehicle was not a coincidence. And I also did not know that Emily's sweet phone call had only been the first step in a plan I could never have imagined. I took a deep breath. I pressed the gas pedal harder, and I drove straight toward Denver. For my grandson, for my family, and for the love of a grandmother who would never give up. Finally, after 15 hours of driving without rest, I saw the glowing sign of Denver General Hospital shining under neon lights in the darkness. The clock showed exactly 2 a.m. on October 30th, 2025. My whole body ached. My eyes burned with exhaustion, but my heart was beating like a war drum. I hurriedly parked in the hospital garage. With trembling hands, I grabbed the gift bag and my small suitcase and walked quickly toward the maternity ward. The familiar smell of hospital disinfectant filled my nose. It reminded me of the night shifts I used to work in Phoenix. But this time was completely different. This time I had come as a grandmother, not as a hospital worker. I almost ran down the hallway. My heart was pounding wildly with excitement. Room 314. I had memorized the room number from Emily's call. The delivery room door was slightly open. Warm yellow light spilled into the hallway. And then I saw Ryan. My son was pacing back and forth outside the room. He was wearing an old hoodie. His hair was messy. His face looked pale under the fluorescent lights. When Ryan looked up and saw me, his eyes widened in shock. Not with joy, but with panic. "Mom, what are you doing here?" Ryan's voice trembled. It was almost a whisper. I stopped walking. The smile on my lips froze. "My son, Mom is here. Emily invited me. I drove 15 hours so I could be here when Jackson is born." Ryan quickly glanced toward the delivery room door. Then he looked back at me. His face looked like a man trapped between two impossible choices. "Mom," Emily changed her mind. "She does not want any family here. No visitors at all. Just us." Those words felt like a punch straight into my chest. I stood frozen. I could not believe what I was hearing. But Emily called me son. She said this would be the most beautiful family moment. I drove across the desert, across snow, across mountains, all just to meet my grandson. I am not asking to enter the delivery room. I only want to stand by the window and look at Jackson once. "Is that possible?" Ryan slowly shook his head. His eyes dropped to the floor. "Mom, Emily is under a lot of stress. The doctor said stress could make the birth more complicated. She insists that it must be only the two of us. Mom, you understand, right?" I felt my legs begin to collapse beneath me. 15 hours of driving. All the dreams about holding my grandson. Everything disappeared in just a few seconds. I begged again. My voice was breaking. Ryan, I am his grandmother. I only want to see him. Please. At that moment, a young nurse stepped out of the nearby room. Her name badge read Linda Ramirez. She looked at me with sympathy. Then she quietly stepped closer and whispered so softly that Ryan would not notice. I am really sorry, Mrs. Smith. She was completely firm about it. No visitors. Not even Grandma, I tried to ask. But she said there would be no exceptions. She gently placed her hand on my shoulder for a second. Then she quickly walked away as if she was afraid of being seen. Ryan looked at me again. His face was full of guilt, but he did not move. Mom, I am sorry. I will call you as soon as the baby is born. Please go to the hotel and rest. Okay, I promise I will keep you updated. I stood there in the cold hospital hallway. Tears rolled down my cheeks, and I did not even bother to wipe them away. The feeling of betrayal, the feeling of being pushed out of the most sacred moment of my own family, it hurt even more than driving 15 hours without sleep. I turned around. I slowly walked toward the elevator. The heavy bag of gifts in my hand felt like a bitter reminder. When the elevator doors closed, I told myself quietly, I came here because of love. But they chose to push me away. I did not know that this shock was only the beginning, and what was waiting for me ahead would be even more painful, even more cruel. But at that moment in the darkness of the hospital hallway, I still hoped. I hoped that tomorrow morning everything would be different, that Ryan would call and say, Mom, come meet your grandson, because I was still an American grandmother. And an American grandmother never gives up hope for her family, even if only a tiny light of hope remains. I left the hospital in a state that felt almost numb. The elevator going down to the parking garage moved so slowly that every second felt like a knife cutting through me. I drove around the area near Denver General Hospital, searching for the nearest place to rest. Finally, I found a simple Holiday Inn hotel, the kind of place anyone would choose when they need an emergency place to stay. I checked in at 2:45 in the morning. My voice trembled so much while speaking to the receptionist that she had to ask me to repeat myself twice. Room 412, 4th floor, a window facing the dark parking lot. I dropped my suitcase onto the floor. The bag of gifts for Jackson rolled beside it. Then I collapsed onto the bed. My entire body ached with exhaustion, but my eyes refused to close. I picked up my phone and kept checking it again and again, every 5 minutes. The screen lit up in the darkness. I stared at the family group messages, at missed calls, at any possible sign from Ryan. There was nothing. Only the ticking sound of the wall clock and the distant noise of cars rushing along Interstate 70. I asked myself quietly, what did I do wrong? I drove 15 hours. Across the desert, across snow, just to be here. Why did this happen? The feeling of betrayal rose like a wave and stuck in my throat. I was the grandmother of that child. I was Ryan's mother. And yet now I had been pushed outside like a stranger. The next morning, around 10 o'clock, my phone finally vibrated. Ryan was calling. I answered immediately. My voice trembled with nervous anticipation. My son Ryan sighed. His voice sounded tired, but there was also a trace of happiness. Mom, Jackson has been born. He is very healthy, 7 pounds and 4 ounces. The boy is perfect. For a brief moment, my heart bloomed with joy. I smiled as tears filled my eyes again. Oh, my dear son, congratulations. Can I come see him right now? I only need to look at him once. Silence. Then Ryan answered again, his voice softer. Emily is very tired, Mom. The delivery was long. She needs to rest. We think it would be better to let her recover first. Maybe tomorrow or the day after tomorrow you can come. I felt as if someone was squeezing my chest. But Ryan, I am right here, only 5 minutes from the hospital. I am not asking to enter the room. I can just stand outside the window. I am Jackson's grandmother. Ryan sighed again. I know, Mom, but Emily is worried about germs and about stress. I am sorry. I will send you photos. The call ended. I sat there with the phone still pressed against my ear, even though the line had already disconnected. No photos arrived. I called back. The first time, the second time, the third time. Ryan did not answer. I tried calling Emily. Her phone rang for a long time, then went to voicemail. No one answered. I called several more times. My voice trembled more and more each time. Still silence. The hotel room suddenly felt suffocating, as if the walls were closing in around me. I could not bear it anymore. I called Barb. When she answered, I burst into tears. I could not stop myself. "Barb, my grandson has been born," Ryan called to tell me. "The baby is healthy, 7 pounds and 4 ounces, but they will not let me see him. I drove 15 hours, through the night, through snow, just to be sent back to a hotel." "What did I do wrong?" Barb's voice on the phone remained calm, strong in that steady American way, but still warm. "Lauren, honey, listen to me. You showed up, you drove all that way because you love that boy and that baby. That is what matters. You did everything a grandmother could do. The rest of it, that is on them. Do not you dare blame yourself. You are strong. You are here. And one day that little boy will know who truly fought to be in his life." I cried for a while longer. Barb let me cry. She did not interrupt. Sometimes she simply said, "It is okay to hurt, Lauren, but do not let it break you." When I finally calmed down, she said gently, "Get some rest. Tomorrow try calling again. If they are still the same, then go back to Phoenix. Do not let them hurt you any more than this." I ended the call. I lay flat on the bed and stared at the white ceiling above me. My phone remained silent. No message, no photo, no apology. There was only me, alone in the cold hotel room, with the unopened gift bag, and the dream of becoming a grandmother shattered into pieces. I wondered if Jackson would ever know that his grandmother had been here, that she had waited, that she had hoped so deeply. That night felt endless. I lay awake. Tears soaked the pillow beneath my head. Yet somewhere deep inside, a fragile thread of hope still remained. Hope that tomorrow morning everything might change. Because I was a grandmother, and a grandmother in America never gives up on her family. No matter how broken her heart may be, the next 2 days passed like a long nightmare. I stayed at the hotel. Every morning I woke up at 6 o'clock, hoping my phone would vibrate with a message from Ryan. "Mom, Emily feels better today. You can come meet Jackson." But nothing came. The phone screen stayed silent. Only meaningless notifications appeared. Messages from Facebook, or random advertising emails. I called Ryan twice every day. Once in the morning, once in the afternoon. But he only sent short messages. "Emily is still tired, Mom. We will update you later." No photos, no videos, not even a simple invitation. I sat beside the hotel window and looked out at the hospital parking lot. I wondered if Jackson was crying, if he was smiling, or if he was sleeping peacefully in his mother's arms. Every time I thought about my grandson, my chest tightened with pain. By Friday, November 1st, 2025, I could not endure it any longer. I decided to drive to the hospital one last time, just to ask about them, just to hope that maybe I could see my grandson through the nursery window. I put on light makeup, I wore my warmest sweater, and I brought the gift bag with me. The teddy bear was still sealed in its package. When I arrived at the maternity ward, the receptionist looked at me with sympathy. "Mrs. Smith, baby Jackson, and his family were discharged early this morning. They went home at 9 o'clock. I stood there frozen. "They went home, and no one told me," the receptionist gently shook her head. "I am sorry. But according to the records, they did not leave contact information for anyone else." I walked back to my car. My hands trembled so badly that I had to sit there for a while before I could even start the engine. Tears poured down my face again. But this time I was not crying quietly. I cried loudly. I sobbed like a child who had been abandoned. I called Ryan immediately. The phone rang for a long time before he finally answered. My voice choked with emotion. "Ryan, why did you not tell me? Why did you leave the hospital without saying a word? I am right here, only 5 minutes away from the hospital." Ryan was silent for a moment. Then he answered in a quiet and tired voice. "Mom, Emily needs privacy. She is worried about germs, about strangers getting close to the baby. Her anxiety is very high right now. We thought it would be better to go home first, to settle everything." I am sorry, but that was Emily's decision. I gripped the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles turned white. "Strangers, Ryan, I am Jackson's grandmother. I drove 15 hours, through the night, through snow, just to be near my grandson. I am not a stranger. I am family." Ryan sighed. "I know, Mom. But Emily is not well right now. She needs time. When things become normal again, I will bring the baby to see you. I promise. A promise. The word suddenly felt distant, empty. I ended the call without saying another word. Sitting in my car in the now empty hospital parking lot, I suddenly understood something very clearly. They had not only excluded me from the moment of Jackson's birth, they had pushed me out of my grandson's life entirely. No invitation, no photos, not even a small chance for me to hold Jackson once. I looked at the gift bag lying quietly on the passenger seat. Then I looked at the road leading back to Phoenix. My heart felt like it was being cut into pieces, but at the same time a cold decision slowly formed inside me. If they did not want me here, if they chose to push me away after everything I had done, then they would have to face the consequences of that choice. I am not a person who seeks revenge, but I am also not someone who allows others to trample on my love and my dignity. I pressed the gas pedal and left Denver General Hospital for the last time. Now Interstate 70 stretched in the opposite direction. From the Rocky Mountains back toward the Arizona desert, I drove in silence. No radio, no singing like on the way here. There was only the steady sound of the engine and the strong beating of my own heart. I told myself quietly, if they do not need me, then I will go home, and they will soon learn that actions have consequences. Karma never spares anyone. As the sun set behind me, painting the sky of Colorado in deep red light, I knew something clearly. This journey was not over. It was only the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter where I would no longer be the one waiting. My name is Lauren Smith. I am an American grandmother, and I will protect myself. I will protect my dignity, even if I must do it alone. Phoenix is waiting for me to return. And this time, I am not going back with pain. I am going back with unbreakable determination. I arrived back in Phoenix on Saturday evening, November 2nd, 2025, after a long return journey that felt endless and suffocatingly silent. My small house in Scottsdale looked exactly the same. The faint smell of old coffee lingered in the air. The sofa where I often sat and read my books was still there, and the photograph of 3 generations of our family still hung on the wall. But this time, everything felt strangely unfamiliar. I left my suitcase by the door. The gift bag for Jackson was still unopened. Then I collapsed onto the chair and stared into the empty space in front of me. My heart felt unbearably heavy, as if someone had taken away a piece of my soul. On Sunday morning, November 3rd, 2025, I was trying to make a cup of tea to calm myself when my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. The area code was from Denver. I answered the call. My voice was still hoarse from crying too much during the previous nights. A professional female voice spoke on the line. "Hello, is this Mrs. Lauren Smith? This is the billing department from Denver General Hospital. We are calling regarding the delivery bill for baby Jackson Smith. The total amount is $10,300. Would you like to pay by credit card, bank transfer, or installment plan?" I almost dropped the cup of tea. What bill? I am not responsible for any payment." The voice on the other end remained calm, as if this were a routine call. "According to our records, you are listed as the financial guarantor for the delivery of Emily Harris. You are also listed as the maternal grandmother. You may check your email for the detailed form with the electronic signature." My hands trembled as I opened my laptop. An email from the hospital appeared immediately. I clicked the attached file. In that moment, it felt as if the world around me stopped moving. The financial responsibility form clearly showed my name, my Phoenix address, even my social security number and banking information. At the bottom of the page was the electronic signature. Lauren Smith. Dated November 15th, 2025. At 11:47 in the evening, exactly the night when I was driving through the signal dead zones of Utah, hundreds of miles away from Denver. My hands on the steering wheel, my eyes fixed on the snow-covered highway. My heart began pounding. That is impossible. I did not sign this. I was in the middle of the road. I had no internet. I had no laptop. How could I sign anything? The billing employee hesitated slightly. The form was submitted through the hospital patient portal. The electronic signature matches the profile associated with your records. If you believe there has been an error, we can transfer the case to our legal department, I almost shouted. This is not an error. This is fraud. Send me all the documents immediately. They sent several more files. My hands shook so badly that I had to click the mouse twice before it worked. It was not only the signature. All of my personal information was there. My phone number, my address, even a photo of my old identification card that I had once sent to Ryan years ago. And the most shocking sentence of all was written clearly on the page. Maternal grandmother Lauren Smith has requested to cover all delivery costs as a gift to the new parents. Me, the paternal grandmother, yet they listed me as the maternal grandmother. Emily did not even have her mother in Denver. Her mother lived in Seattle. Every part of it was a lie. I slowly sank to the kitchen floor, my back pressed against the cold refrigerator. Everything began to become clear, like a horrifying picture finally revealing itself. Emily had called me, sweetly inviting me to drive 15 hours to Denver. She encouraged me the entire time during the trip. And on the exact night when I was struggling through snow and darkness on Interstate 70, she or someone working with her had used my information to forge my signature. They turned me into the person responsible for the $10,300 hospital bill. This was not an accident. This was a plan. They wanted me to pay for the delivery of my own grandson, while pushing me completely out of the child's life. Tears rolled down my face again. But this time they were not tears of sadness. They were tears of burning anger. I had driven across 2 states, through the night, through a snowstorm, only to be turned away from the hospital, excluded from my grandson. And now I had been turned into a debtor by my own family. I gripped my phone tightly. My voice trembled, but it was firm. I will not pay a single cent. This is fraud, and I will report it immediately. I ended the call. Then I took a deep breath. The pain from the past 2 days was still there, but now it had transformed into something else. A fire. If they believed they could take advantage of my love, if they believed they could exploit the trust of a grandmother, then they had made a very serious mistake. Karma is not something that arrives quickly, but it always arrives. And this time I would not sit quietly and wait. I stood up, wiped away my tears. Then I opened my laptop and searched for the phone number of the hospital legal department. A new journey was beginning. Not a journey back home, but a journey to demand justice. For me, for Jackson, and for every American grandmother who has ever been taken advantage of by the very people she loved the most. After the shock of the hospital billing call, I could no longer sit still. Anger had replaced the pain, and I knew I had to act immediately. I opened my laptop. I took screenshots of every email from the hospital. I printed out all the financial forms that contained the forged signature. Then I called the legal department of Denver General Hospital using the number the billing employee had given me. My voice sounded calmer than I expected. My name is Lauren Smith. I just received a bill for $10,300 for the delivery of Emily Harris. I did not sign any form. This is identity fraud. I want to file an official report. The person on the other end listened carefully. Their voice suddenly became serious. Mrs. Smith, we will immediately transfer this case to our legal department. Could you provide additional evidence? I sent them everything. Screenshots with timestamps from my phone proving that I was in the middle of Utah at 11:47 in the evening on November 15th, 2025. Call logs showing Emily calling and encouraging me during the drive. Gas receipts. Hotel receipts. Everything matched the timeline perfectly. They promised to begin an investigation and temporarily suspend all charges connected to my name. Only 2 days later, on November 5th, 2025, my phone rang again. A deep male voice spoke with a clear Colorado accent. Mrs. Smith, my name is Detective Mike Torres from the Denver Police Department. We received a fraud report from the hospital. May I meet with you to take your statement? I am currently in Phoenix and can come directly to your home. I invited him to come that same afternoon. When Detective Torres stepped into my house, he was tall and broad-shouldered. He wore a leather jacket and carried a document case. He smiled with that calm, friendly confidence typical of an American officer. Mrs. Smith, I have reviewed the file you sent. You prepared your evidence very professionally. GPS records, call logs, receipts, timestamps. I have been a police officer for 15 years. It is rare to see a victim with documentation this clear. We sat together at my kitchen table. I told him everything. The sweet invitation call from Emily, the 15-hour drive, being turned away at the hospital, and the unexpected bill. I showed him the forged form and pointed to the electronic signature and the submission time. Detective Torres nodded repeatedly. This is not a system error. Someone accessed your personal information and used the patient portal to submit the form. We will coordinate with the hospital to obtain the IP logs and security camera footage. Do you have anything else? I handed him another document. An anonymous email I had received that morning. It came from a strange Gmail address. The message said, "Pay up or regret it. You do not want things to get ugly for your family." My heart pounded again as I read the message aloud. Torres frowned. "This threat is serious. We will trace the source. Do not worry. We will protect you." When he left my house, I felt something I had not felt for many days. A small sense of relief. Justice had begun to move, slowly but surely. I was no longer a grandmother abandoned and alone. I had evidence. I had the police. And I had determination. But the worry still remained. That threatening email kept me awake the entire night. Who sent it, Emily or someone else? I decided that I would not face this alone. The next morning, I called attorney James Harlan. He was the family lawyer Barb had introduced to me. He had helped me handle my will several years earlier. After listening to my story, his voice remained calm and steady. "Mrs. Smith, this is a serious case of identity theft, and it may involve interstate fraud. We will prepare a civil case alongside the criminal investigation. You have the right to claim compensation for emotional damage, travel expenses, and any other losses. I will begin drafting the lawsuit immediately." I took a deep breath. It felt as if a heavy stone had finally been lifted from my chest. I was no longer a passive victim. I was fighting back. Not for revenge, but to protect myself. To prove that the love of a grandmother is not something that can be exploited. Karma was drawing closer, and this time I was not simply waiting for it. I was pushing it toward the people who had caused me so much pain. I looked out the window. The Arizona sunlight streamed into the house, warm, steady. I knew the journey ahead would be long, but I was ready, because real family never abandons one another. And if they chose to become my enemies, then I would be the American grandmother who never surrenders. A few days after Detective Torres left, everything began to move faster than I expected. On the morning of November 8, 2025, my phone rang. The number was unfamiliar. It was from Washington District of Columbia. A clear and professional female voice spoke. "Mrs. Lauren Smith, my name is Special Agent Nicole Reyes from the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We received the identity fraud file from the Denver Police Department and the hospital. Because this case involves interstate fraud, your personal information was used from Colorado, but the form was submitted through a federal system. Therefore, we will take over the investigation. May I speak with you through a video call today?" I agreed immediately. When the screen appeared, Agent Reyes looked to be around 40 years old. Her hair was neatly tied in a bun. Her eyes were sharp but friendly with the warm confidence typical of an American woman with Latin heritage, she explained briefly. "Mrs. Smith, we have traced the Internet protocol address from the hospital patient portal. The form was submitted from a computer in the waiting area of Denver General Hospital. The time matches the moment when you were driving through Utah. We also obtained footage from the security cameras. The woman who submitted the form was Emily Harris. Or more precisely, her real name is Sophia Kane." I sat frozen in silence. Her real name, Agent Reyes, continued. Her voice remained calm, but heavy with meaning. "During our deeper investigation, we discovered that Sophia Kane did not target only you. During the past 3 years, she carried out identity fraud against at least 6 other members of her husband's family and circle of friends. The total financial damage exceeds $52,000. The victims live in California, Texas, and Seattle, among other places. She collected personal information from social media, from family groups on Facebook, and then opened credit cards, took small loans, and even transferred medical bills into other people's names. Your case is the most recent one. And it is also the clearest case because the timeline evidence cannot be denied. I felt as if someone had punched me in the stomach. It was not only me. Ryan's family, other relatives I had never even known about. They had all been deceived. Agent Reyes looked directly into the camera. We are now coordinating with local Federal Bureau of Investigation offices to collect statements from the other victims. You are a key victim in this case. Your evidence helped uncover the entire operation. Would you be willing to testify if necessary? I nodded without hesitation. I am willing. Not because of money, but because of justice. And because of my grandson, Jackson. He does not deserve to grow up in a family built on lies. Agent Reyes gave a small smile. That is the right spirit, Mrs. Smith. We will stay in contact. Less than 24 hours later, I saw the first news report in the Denver Post. Journalist Alex Rivera wrote a short article. Denver woman accused of family identity theft. Local resident faces fraud charges after allegedly forging grandmother's signature on a $10,300 hospital bill. The article did not reveal the full name yet, but the details were enough for people to recognize the story. My hands trembled as I read it. This was no longer a private matter. It was spreading into the public eye. I called Barb immediately. She answered with a worried voice. Lauren, I read the news. Oh my goodness, this has become huge. Are you all right? I told Barb everything. About the Federal Bureau of Investigation, about the 6 other victims, about the real name Sophia Kane. Barb stayed silent for a moment, then she spoke softly. Honey, you did the right thing. Do not let guilt creep into your heart. This is not your fault. This is her fault. Now you must protect yourself. And protect Ryan. I knew Barb was right. I called Ryan. It was the first time since I left Denver. He answered after several rings. His voice sounded tired. Mom, I took a deep breath. Ryan, we need to talk seriously. The Federal Bureau of Investigation is investigating Emily. Her real name is Sophia Kane. She committed identity fraud not only against me, but against 6 other people in the family. The total amount is more than $52,000. They have camera footage, internet records, everything. My son, I am very worried about you and Jackson. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then Ryan whispered, Mom, I did not know anything. Emily told me the hospital bill was fully covered by insurance. She said the issue with you was only a misunderstanding. But if what you are saying is true, then who have I been living with for the past 6 years? His voice broke with emotion. I am starting to have doubts now. She avoids every question about her family and her past. I do not know what to do anymore. I tried to keep my voice calm. My son, I am here for you and for Jackson. Do not make any sudden decisions. Talk with a lawyer. Check the shared finances between the 2 of you. I will support you in every way I can. We are family, a real family. When the call ended, I sat quietly in the kitchen. I looked at a photograph of little Ryan standing beside me, smiling with his wide, childish grin. Tears fell again, but this time they were tears of sorrow for my son, a man who had been deceived by the very woman he loved. I knew Ryan had begun to doubt, and that was the first step toward waking up. Justice was drawing closer. The Federal Bureau of Investigation had joined the case. The news media had begun reporting the story. And my family, though broken, was slowly finding its way back to one another. I was no longer alone. I had evidence. I had the law on my side, and I had the love of a grandmother who would never give up. Sophia Kane, or Emily Harris, might have believed she controlled everything. But she had made a terrible mistake. Because when an American grandmother decides to fight, nothing in this world can stop her. In the days after Agent Reyes called, I lived in a state that felt half awake and half dreaming. Every ring of the phone made my heart pound. I kept waiting for new information from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and then it came. It was a call on the afternoon of November 12th, 2025. I was sitting on my porch watching the deep red Arizona sunset. Agent Reyes's number appeared on the screen. I answered immediately. My voice trembled slightly. Agent Reyes. She spoke directly without hesitation. Mrs. Smith, we have just completed a deep background check on Sophia Kane. I need to prepare you for what you are about to hear. Sophia was arrested and served 18 months in prison in Oregon in the year 2017 for identity theft and fraud. She was convicted for participating in an identity fraud network that stole information from more than a dozen victims. The total financial damage exceeded $85,000. After she was released from prison, she changed her name. She moved to Colorado and built a new life under the name Emily Harris. I had to sit down in my chair and grip the armrests tightly. Prison, she was a criminal, Agent Reyes continued. Her voice remained calm but firm. Yes, and there is more. We discovered that Sophia Kane is still legally married to a man named Derek Kane. He is the former husband she claimed to have divorced. However, there is no official divorce record on file. Her marriage to your son Ryan is legally considered bigamy. That means a second marriage that is not legal under Colorado law. I felt as if the floor beneath my feet had suddenly collapsed. Ryan had been living with a woman who not only lied about her past, but also lied about her legal identity. Agent Reyes continued speaking. Derek Kane appears to be the real mastermind behind everything. He operates a scheme known as family infiltration. Derek selects men who have stable incomes, good careers, and strong family connections. Then the women in his group, such as Sophia, approach them. They build relationships. They marry them or move in with them. After that, they collect personal information and use it for fraud. They take loans, open credit cards, and even transfer medical bills into the names of relatives. Their final goal is to drain the family's finances before disappearing. I remained silent for a long time, trying to process everything I had just heard. So, Emily or Sophia targeted Ryan because he is a software engineer with a high salary. And because he has a mother like me, a retired woman with some savings, Agent Reyes confirmed. Exactly. We found files that Derek kept about your family. Information collected from Facebook, LinkedIn, and even old posts about Ryan and you. They planned this long before Sophia approached your son. When the call ended, my mind felt dizzy and overwhelmed. I could not keep this secret from Ryan any longer. I called my son immediately. He answered after several rings. His voice sounded exhausted. Mom, is there any news? I took a deep breath and tried to keep my voice steady. Ryan, I just spoke with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. They confirmed that Emily, whose real name is Sophia Kane, served 18 months in prison in Oregon for identity theft. She is still legally married to a man named Derek Kane. Your marriage with her is not legally valid. And Derek is the mastermind behind a family fraud network. They target men like you, stable, trusting, close to their families. The silence that followed was so long that I could hear Ryan breathing heavily on the other end of the line. Then he whispered. His voice broke with emotion. Mom, that cannot be true. I trusted her completely. She told me stories about her childhood in Seattle, about her parents, about moving to Colorado to start a new life. Was all of that a lie? I shared everything with her. Our joint bank accounts, our passwords. I even told her about you, about everything you sacrificed for me. Ryan's voice began to fade. I heard him sob quietly. I chose her instead of you. I forced you to leave the hospital. I let you drive home alone. And now, I realize I have been living with a stranger for 6 years. Jackson, my son, was born into a false marriage. What am I, Mom? Am I just a fool? I swallowed my tears and answered gently. My son, you are not a fool. You loved someone. And you trusted her. That is one of the best qualities you have. She took advantage of that. But now you know the truth. I am here for you and for Jackson. We will get through this together. Contact a lawyer immediately. Check your finances. Review your marriage documents. And protect your parental rights. I will support you in every way I can. Ryan cried for a few more moments. Then he whispered quietly, Mom, I am sorry. I do not know how to face her. She is at home right now with Jackson. I am afraid. I held the phone tightly. You do not need to be afraid. You are Jackson's father, and I am his grandmother. We are the real family. Be strong, Ryan. Justice is coming, and I will not allow anyone to hurt my son or my grandson again." When the call ended, I sat quietly on the porch. The evening wind of Arizona moved gently through the air. Tears fell from my eyes. I cried for my son, but at the same time I felt a new sense of hope. Ryan was waking up. He was beginning to see the true person that Sophia Kane really was. And when an American man realizes he has been betrayed by the person he loved most, he will stand up again. Not for revenge, but to protect what still remains, his son and his real family. Sophia's dark past had finally been exposed, and this time no one could hide it anymore. I looked up at the sky as it slowly grew darker, and I whispered to myself, "There is still much waiting ahead of us, but we will not fall, because American families never give up." Only 2 days after I spoke with Ryan, my phone rang again. This time it was Special Agent Nicole Reyes, but her voice was no longer calm like before. "Mrs. Smith, I need to meet with you immediately. We just recovered documents from Derek Kane's computer in Seattle. This is no longer only financial fraud. This is a serious criminal conspiracy. I will send you a secure video meeting link in 5 minutes." I sat down in my chair. My hands felt ice cold. When the screen appeared, Agent Reyes was sitting beside another agent. A thick stack of files lay on the table in front of them. She looked straight into the camera. Her voice lowered. "We gained access to Derek Kane's hard drive, and what we found shocked the entire investigation team." She opened a file and shared her screen. On the screen were documents with a clear title: Operation Martinez Exit Strategy. Plan to exit the Smith family. As I read the words, it felt as if my blood froze. Derek Kane had designed a perfect scenario. Sophia, also known as Emily, would fake her death together with Jackson in a staged car accident only a few months after the baby was born. They would drive on a remote mountain road in Colorado. They would stage a crash. Then they would disappear. After that, they would contact me, Lauren Smith, and demand $500,000 in ransom in exchange for returning Jackson safely. If I refused to pay, they would threaten to sell the baby to another family or train him to become the next generation criminal within their family infiltration network. I had to cover my mouth with my hand to stop myself from screaming. They planned to kidnap my grandson and train Jackson to become a criminal like them, Agent Reyes nodded. Her eyes had turned slightly red. "Yes, Mrs. Smith. They also purchased 2 large life insurance policies, one for Sophia and one for Jackson. Ryan was listed as the beneficiary. The insurance premiums were paid using money stolen from your family and other victims. After staging the deaths, they would collect hundreds of thousands of dollars from the insurance, in addition to the ransom money they expected from you." My body trembled so badly that I had to grip the armrest of my chair. The image of little Jackson, my innocent grandson, being taken away, being taught to lie, being turned into a tool for criminals to make money. The pain was so intense that I could barely breathe. "Were they planning to kill Ryan?" I asked. My voice broke as I spoke. Agent Reyes shook her head. "Not immediately. But if Ryan became suspicious or interfered, Derek had a secondary plan. They would make Ryan's death appear to be an accident. They studied his life carefully, his work schedule, his daily driving route, even his habit of buying coffee every morning." Then she opened one final file. It was a security camera video. On the screen appeared a clear image of a shiny black sport utility vehicle. I recognized it immediately. That is the car that followed me on Interstate 70. Agent Reyes confirmed it. "Yes, Derek Kane was the driver. He followed you for more than 100 miles. He recorded your location and the times you stopped. He even photographed you while you were refueling your car. They wanted to be absolutely certain that you were truly driving to Denver so their forged signature plan could be completed." I sat there as tears streamed down my face without stopping. Everything I once believed was coincidence. The sweet invitation call, the black car following me, the cold rejection at the hospital. All of it had been part of a plan to kidnap my grandson. They had calculated everything. They made sure I would drive 15 hours. They made sure I would be rejected at the hospital. and then they would corner me into paying ransom for the very child they planned to steal. Jackson, my innocent little grandson. I whispered the words, my voice trembling. Agent Reyes looked at me with firm determination. We arrested Derek Kane in Seattle this morning. He is cooperating in exchange for a reduced sentence. Sophia Kane will be arrested within the next few hours. But you need to understand something. This plan was extremely sophisticated. If you had not reported that $10,300 hospital bill that day, if you had simply stayed silent and paid the money, then it is very possible that Jackson would not be with us today. I wiped away my tears and slowly stood up. My voice still trembled, but it carried determination. They planned to steal my grandson. They planned to turn him into a criminal. But they made one mistake. They did not know what an American grandmother would do to protect her grandson. I called Ryan immediately. His voice broke apart as he heard the truth. Mom, they were going to kill us. They were going to kidnap Jackson. I heard him crying through the phone. In the background, I could hear baby Jackson crying loudly. I gripped the phone tightly. My son, I am here. We will not let them touch Jackson. The Federal Bureau of Investigation has arrested Derek. Sophia will be arrested soon. We will fight this together. When the call ended, I looked out across the Arizona desert. The land was glowing under a deep red sunset. My heart was still racing, but I was no longer afraid. I felt fear for my grandson, anger for my son, and strength within myself. They wanted to steal Jackson's future. They wanted to turn family love into a tool for profit. But they chose the wrong person to target. Because I am Lauren Smith. I am 68 years old. And I am a grandmother. No conspiracy. No kidnapping plan. Nothing in this world can defeat the love of an American grandmother once she decides to stand and fight. Justice is not only coming, it is already here. And this time it will spare no one. Time passed like a whirlwind. From the day Derek Kane was arrested in Seattle to the preliminary hearing at the Phoenix Federal Courthouse, only a few months had passed. But to me, it felt as long as an entire lifetime. On February 15, 2026, I walked up the granite steps of the federal courthouse. The Arizona sun was blazing above me, yet inside my heart everything felt cold. Ryan walked beside me, holding Jackson in his arms. The baby was now more than 3 months old. His big, round eyes looked at the world with innocent curiosity. We did not say much. The only thing I felt was my son's firm grip on my hand, as if he were holding on to the last place of safety he had left. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere felt so heavy it was almost suffocating. Sophia Kane, the woman I once called Emily, sat at the defendant's table. She wore a dark orange prison uniform. Her hair was tied neatly. Her face had no trace of makeup. She stared straight ahead. She did not look at us even once. Ryan sat in the front row. Jackson slept peacefully in his arms. I sat behind them. My hands gripped my handbag tightly as I waited for my turn to testify. When the judge called my name, I stood up and walked to the witness stand. My hand trembled slightly as I placed it on the Bible, but my voice remained steady. The prosecutor asked Mrs. Smith, "Please tell the court what happened during October and November of the year 2025. I took a deep breath. Then I began my story. I spoke about the sweet phone call inviting me to Denver, about the 15-hour drive across desert snow and mountains, and about the moment when Ryan stopped me outside delivery room 314. I described every detail. I drove all night. I only stopped for gasoline and coffee. I sang along with the radio to stay awake. I sent messages to my best friend to update my location. I imagined the moment I would hold my grandson for the first time. But when I arrived, my son told me Mom, Emily changed her mind. No family allowed. I begged him to let me stand outside the window just to see the baby. But he refused, saying that stress could be dangerous for the delivery. I was pushed away like a stranger. The courtroom was completely silent. I continued speaking. 2 days later, they left the hospital without telling me. I drove to the hospital to check, and I discovered they had already gone home. I called Ryan. He said Emily needed space because she was worried about germs and anxiety. I drove back to Phoenix alone. My heart was completely broken. Then the bill for $10,300 arrived. It carried my forged signature. It had been submitted at the exact time when I was in the middle of Utah without phone signal. That was when I realized everything had been a plan. They invited me to Denver to use me. They pushed me away to eliminate me. And then they tried to make me responsible for the financial cost. When I finished, the prosecutor asked one final question. "Do you regret reporting the fraud?" I looked directly at Sophia. "No, I regret trusting for too long. But I do not regret fighting back, because my grandson does not deserve to grow up surrounded by lies and crime." Suddenly, Sophia jumped to her feet. Her handcuffs rattled loudly. Her lawyer tried to restrain her, but she shouted in a sharp voice that echoed through the courtroom. "You were easy marks. All of you. Easy, trusting, pathetic marks. I regret nothing. You deserved every bit of it. The money, the pain, the humiliation, and I would do it again in a heartbeat." The courtroom exploded with shocked murmurs. The judge struck the gavel and shouted, "Control your client." But it was already too late. Her outburst had been recorded. Within hours, it spread across social media and news outlets. The Denver Post published a headline that read, "Defendant's Outburst. I regret nothing in family fraud trial." The footage of Sophia shouting in the courtroom went viral. Millions of Americans watched and shared it. I stepped down from the witness stand. My legs felt weak. Ryan stood up, holding Jackson more tightly. Tears rolled down his face. When I walked through the hallway outside the courtroom, Ryan approached me. He suddenly dropped to one knee in front of me. His voice broke with emotion. "Mom, I am sorry. I chose her instead of you. I let you drive 15 hours alone. I let you be turned away from the hospital. I let you be deceived. I should have protected you and protected Jackson. I have been a terrible son." Jackson stirred in his arms and began to cry softly as if he could feel his father's pain. I embraced both of them. My tears fell onto Ryan's hair. "My son, I forgive you. We are family. And now we will rebuild our lives together." The trial continued. The jury needed less than 3 hours to reach a decision. When they returned, the foreperson stood and spoke clearly. "We, the jury, find the defendant, Sophia Cain, guilty on all counts: identity theft, wire fraud, mail fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, and conspiracy to commit kidnapping." The courtroom erupted with emotion. Sophia lowered her head. Her arrogance had disappeared. Ryan held me tighter than ever. Jackson slept peacefully in his father's arms. When we stepped outside the courthouse, the Arizona afternoon sun still shone brightly. Ryan whispered quietly, "Mom, thank you for not giving up. You saved Jackson. And you saved me too, so." I looked down at my grandson and gently touched his cheek. It was not me who saved us. It was the love of family. And here in America, real families never surrender. The confrontation had ended. Justice had been carried out. But the journey of healing had only just begun, and this time we would walk forward together, stronger, closer, and never again allowing anyone to take advantage of our love. Below is the faithful English translation, keeping the original meaning, emotions, and storytelling tone while adjusting sentence rhythm and punctuation for natural. Voice AI reading, clear pauses, simple phrasing, minimal difficult liaison, optimized for TTS. All symbols are written in words where appropriate. After the jury returned to the courtroom in less than 3 hours, the atmosphere inside the Phoenix Federal Courthouse felt as if it had stopped breathing. The jury foreperson stood up. His voice echoed clearly through the microphone. "We, the jury, find the defendant Sophia Cain guilty on all counts: identity theft, wire fraud, mail fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, and conspiracy to commit kidnapping." A wave of whispers spread across the courtroom. A few restrained claps followed. Sophia lowered her head. Her shoulders trembled slightly beneath the dark orange prison uniform. There was no trace left of the arrogance of the woman who had shouted, "I regret nothing," earlier in the trial. The judge struck the gavel and declared the session concluded. As the officers escorted her out, she did not look back even once. I remained seated. My hands still gripped my handbag tightly. Quiet tears slipped down my face. Not because I felt victorious, but because I finally felt relief. At last, justice had spoken. A few weeks later, the official sentencing day arrived. Sophia Cain was sentenced to 27 years in federal prison with no possibility of parole. No plea for leniency was accepted. When I heard the number, I simply nodded silently. 27 years. Long enough for Jackson to grow up without ever needing to know the name Sophia Cain. Long enough for her to reflect on what she had done to so many families. Ryan moved quickly. He filed for legal divorce immediately after the FBI provided full documentation, proving that the marriage with Sophia had been nothing more than bigamy and therefore had no legal validity. At the same time, he amended Jackson's birth certificate, removing every trace connected to the fake identity Emily Harris. Now on the official documents, Jackson is listed as the son of Ryan Smith, and in the space for mother, no name is recorded, Ryan told me one evening. His voice was low but firm. I want Jackson to know the truth when he grows up, that he had a father who fought to protect him, and a grandmother who drove 15 hours just to meet him. We decided to return to Phoenix together. Ryan resigned from his job in Denver. He sold the house he once believed was his family home. Then he moved to live with me in my small house in Scottsdale. At first, everything felt unfamiliar. Jackson's midnight cries echoed through the hallway that had once been so quiet. A baby stroller stood right beside the kitchen door. The faint smell of baby formula drifted through the house. But slowly, it became our new normal, and it was the most beautiful normal we had ever known. Barb Wilson, my best friend for more than 30 years, refused to let us face everything in silence. One bright Saturday afternoon, under the golden Arizona sun, she organized a small celebration right in my backyard. Nothing extravagant, just folding tables, red, white, and blue balloons, and a large cake with a message written in white icing, "Welcome home, Jackson." Barb wore an apron printed with the American flag. She grinned widely as she lifted Jackson into her arms. "Welcome home, little cowboy. Grandma Barb is going to bake you the best cookies in all of Arizona." Ryan stood beside me. His eyes were red as he watched everyone clap and cheer. I hugged him tightly and whispered, "Son, this is what real family looks like." Jackson, with the same wide eyes Ryan had when he was a baby, burst into happy laughter as Barb blew a paper horn playfully in front of his face. Laughter filled the backyard. It mixed with the smell of barbecue grilling and the soft sound of country music drifting from a small Bluetooth speaker. In that moment, I realized something. No matter how much pain we had endured, we still had each other. And that was all that truly mattered. In the days that followed, life slowly found its rhythm again. Ryan found a new job in Phoenix. The salary was lower than before, but he said with a quiet smile, "I do not need much money anymore, Mom. I just need time with Jackson and time with you." Every morning I wake up early to brew coffee. Then I carry Jackson out onto the porch. He lies in my arms looking up at the vast Arizona sky. His tiny fingers wrap around one of mine, and I tell him stories. Stories about the desert, about the Rocky Mountains, about the long journey his grandmother once drove through the night, just to meet him. Then one late afternoon, as the sun began to sink behind the massive red rocks, I sat alone on the old wooden chair on the porch. Jackson was asleep in his room. Ryan was washing dishes in the kitchen. The desert wind moved softly through the air, carrying the last warmth of the day. The sky burned with colors, deep red, orange, pink, purple. It was breathtaking. Like a painting that God created especially for people who once lost their way and finally found their way home again. I looked out at that endless horizon. Quiet tears rolled down my cheeks, not from sadness, but from gratitude. I whispered softly to myself. My voice was rough but steady. I drove 15 hours to meet my grandson and ended up saving his future. Grandmas do not break easy. Those words felt like a promise to myself, a promise to the Arizona desert, and a promise to the world. I had driven across burning deserts, through snow-covered highways, along winding mountain roads, all just to hold my grandson once. But instead of becoming a grandmother pushed to the edge of the family, I became the one who protected his future. The love of an American grandmother does not break easily. It may be tested. It may be wounded. It may even be betrayed, but it rises again, stronger, braver, more resilient. The sunset slowly faded. The first stars began to appear in the darkening sky. I wiped my tears and smiled. Jackson is growing up surrounded by real love. Ryan is learning how to be both a father and a son. And I, Lauren Smith, 68 years old, am still sitting here on my familiar porch, ready for whatever journey lies ahead. Because real family never surrenders. And here in America, a grandmother will always drive any distance necessary just to protect what matters most.